my little pretties, what's up? It's your mistress, the Queen of Lions here, and today we are back with another episode of Shadows and Pretties. Now, today in this episode of Shadows and Pretties, which it is episode 78, the last episode we talked about was a movie called Wolf Children. So I decided to go ahead and review or do a Shadows and Pretties episode of this, of a Disney movie, which I haven't done one in a while. So today I am going to be doing the Disney movie Mulan, which came out in 1998. Now, I have not seen the remake of it yet, which came out last year. I have not seen the remake of it yet, so I don't really know much about it. I don't even know if it's good in my eyes or anything like that, because I saw the trailer for it and it looked pretty decent, so I might consider maybe having a look at it. Don't really know though. So I guess we should jump into this. So now I know there's a sequel called Mulan 2, which is a sequel to, well, the first Mulan movie. I'm going to talk about that one in a bit. Not going to talk about it too much, but let's get started with this. Now, this story takes place in China during the Han Dynasty, which happened in China many years ago, where a character by the name of Fa Mulan, or Mulan, who is the daughter of an aged warrior who is her father, and she impersonates a man to take her father's place during the general conscription of the Han invasion, which, to be completely and utterly honest, let's get started with it. So, of course, Disney MGM Studios, which is now Disney's Hollywood Studios, which is in Bay Lake, Florida, in development for the film began around 1994, where a number of artist supervisors were sent to China to receive some artistic and culture inspiration, as Mulan was well received by critics and publics who praised the animation for the plot, the plot, the characters, and even the music score. It grossed out around maybe just over $300 million and earned a Golden Globe and an Academy Award for a nomination to one of several Annie awards, including Best Animated Feature. So, of course, with that being said, I'm not going to talk about the live-action Mulan movie because the plot of that one is basically the same because it's a remake, so it's basically the exact same plot. I have not seen the remake of it yet, so I don't really know if the remake is any good. So, yeah, I'm not going to talk about too much about the remake because I don't really know. So, with that being the case, I think we should get started. So, the Huns, who are led by a ruthless Shan Yu, who invade the Imperial Han China by breaching the Great Wall in the imperial city, and the Emperor orders a general mobilization with conscription notice says all the men requiring from each family to join the Imperial Chinese army. However, Mulan learns that her elderly father, Fa Zhou, the only man in her family and an army veteran, is being conscripted and fears for his life due to his poor health. So to protect him, Mulan cuts her hair and takes her father's sword and armor, disguising herself as a man so that she can take his place instead of having him to go into the war. So the family learns of her departure, and Mulan's grandmother prays to the family's ancestors for Mulan's safety. So the ancestors decide that the Great Stone Dragon would bring Mulan back and sends disgraced former guardian, a small red dragon named Mushu, who is voiced by Eddie Murphy. And I have to say, Eddie Murphy did a pretty good job as Mushu. If you guys don't know who he is the same voice actor who voiced Donkey in the Shrek movies. Just thought I would, point that out. So to awaken him, Mushu accidentally destroys the Guardian statue and resolves to go instead, desiring to redeem himself from the ancestors by making Mulan a war hero. While reporting to the training camp, Mulan passes a man named Ping, which with Mushu providing the encouragement of clumsy guidance throughout the deception. Under the command of the Captain Shane, and she and her fellow recruits, including Yao, Ling, Shen Po, had gradually become trained soldiers. But however, the Emperor's belligerent consul so Chi Fu threatens to dissuade the emperors, allowing Shane's men to fight. When Mushu then crafts a fake letter to Shane's father, General Lee ordering Shane to follow the main imperial army into the mountains, the reinforcements sent out and they arrive to burn the village. However, discovering that the Hans are the massacred the General Lee and his troops, the soldiers march up to the mountain pass, but however they get ambushed by the Huns. Mulan cleverly uses a Hulon Shusu, or whatever it is, cannon, to make an avalanche, which buries the whole entire army. Shang Yu wounds Mulan during the battle, and her deception is revealed when the wound is bandaged. Instead of executing Mulan as the law requires, Shane spares her life and expels her from the army, as Mulan was left behind with the other soldiers for her departing the imperial city to report the Huns' defeat. However, though, Shan Yu, or whoever it is, I'm gonna say right now, I'm pretty bad when it comes to performing, pronouncing certain names in Chinese, so I do apologize. And several of his warriors have survived, and Mulan sees them heading towards the city. So Mulan enters the city and warns Shane, and the Huns then capture the emperor and seize the palace. So it was up to Mulan, Yao, Ling, Shenpo, and Shane to enter the palace and defeat Shan Yu's men, and Shane prevents Shan Yu's assassinating the emperor, and Mulan lures the Hun leader into the roof, where she pins him with his own sword. Acting on Mulan's instructions, Mushu fires a skyrocket at, Shan Yu, and the rocket strikes and propels Shan Yu into the fireworks, launching the tower, where unfortunately he dies in the result of the explosion. Now, the Emperor reprimands Mulan, but he and the city's embellishment and the inhabitants praise her for having to save them, and they bow to her honor. She accepts the Emperor's crest and Shang Yu's sword as a gift, but politely declines her offer as to be a loyal consul, and then asks her to return to her family. Mulan returns home and presents these gifts to her father, but he is happy to have her back. And having to become remarried with Mulan, Shane also arrives to accept her invitation to stay for dinner, as Mushu reinstated the Fa family guardian as the ancestor celebrates. So that's basically the story of Mulan. I actually really liked the Disney movie when I was a kid. I loved how this movie came out. Now, this is around maybe, 1993. During the fall of several animation duties on Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King, Disney executives were convinced to follow the feature animation Florida studio to produce their first independent film. But around that time, Disney feature animation developed some interest in some Asian-themed legends, beginning with optioning several books from children's books by the author Robert Daniel Sain Suchi, who had been considered a relationship with the Disney executive Jay Dyer. Now, around the short straight-to-video titled The China Doll was oppressed a miserable Chinese girl who was whisked away by a British Prince Charming, who in happiness was in development. But of course, during that time, they were sent to go to China to get some inspiration for a Mulan movie, such as take photographs and drawings of the local landmarks as for inspiration to soak up the culture. So the key members of the creative team were Palm Coates, Barry Cook, Rick Sluter, Robert Walker, and Mark Henn. They were invited to travel to China and research as they study the landscape, the people, and the history and the original legend from around that time. So they had researched a trip flew to Beijing, China, where Palm Coates hopes to become inspired by the whole ordeal of making Mulan. However, the earliest stages of the story was originally conceived as a Tootsie-like romantic comedy film where Mulan has a misfit tomboy and that loves her father, but is betrothed to Shang, whom she has not met. On her betrothal day of her father carves her destiny stone tablet in the family temple. So, of course, when they just finished the storyboard working on for The Lion King, they were hoping to work on Hunchback of Notre Dame, but unfortunately, they decided to work on Mulan instead. So, of course, the sequence in 6, which Mulan takes her father's first place, cuts her long hair, and dons her father's armor, serve as a potential moment in the evolution of Mulan's character. So, there was a lot of work in the storyboards and that, and certain characters, casting had to be made. But I could definitely say the songs in this is actually really well made in detail. I love how the song went out. It was really well made in detail and it was pretty good. Now, the songs I really like, but although the most famous one most people probably have, well, heard of, and you could probably say that right now, is this. Now, the role of Mushu, Disney was airing to have the top Hollywood talent, the vein of Robin Williams' performance to do, well, him, but of course they also approached Joe Pesci and Richard Dreyfuss on the voicing Mushu, but then they consider Eddie Murphy to be the role. So surprisingly, they got only almost a few people to, well, do the role, but unfortunately they found someone else. The animation design is just flat out amazing, especially it looks realistic in a Disney film. Now, I know Disney has done, these kind of movies for like a really long time, but I definitely have to say, when Disney did a pretty good job with this movie, a lot of people really liked it. Even myself, being a Disney fan or a diehard Disney fan, I absolutely love this movie. It actually went pretty well for the concept of what it is. Now, I could definitely say it was released on VHS in 1999 as part of the Walt Disney Masterpiece Collection wind-up. When Mulan was released on DVD sometime around 1999 as a Walt Disney limited issue for limited 60-day time period, but of course they re-released on VHS and DVD throughout the years. Of course, they actually have another for Mulan, movie coming out, but they did have, you could definitely say, when Mulan first came out, a lot of people really came on the opening day. So it was a box office success. However, there are video games for, certain stuff like PlayStation that for the storybook animated of Mulan and even some other, Mulan films. But I could definitely say the live-action remake of Mulan started sometime in around, 2015, and they originally released due to, they were originally scheduled to have it released in 2020 in March, but it was pushed back to July due to the pandemic. So, yeah, due to the pandemic, they had to push back a lot of movies and releases and that, which kind of sucks, but yeah. I definitely have to say, the soundtrack of the movie is absolutely beautiful. It fits well with the whole songs. I really enjoyed the whole concept of the movies that actually, had a really good concept when it came to this movie. So, now about Mulan 2, a lot of people really did not like this one, even though it came out in 2004. But I could definitely say that a lot of people really just didn't like it. So, it was poorly received by critics, so it didn't really do as good as the first one, but I could definitely say, I'll just say right now that it takes a month after the events of the first film, where Shane asks Mulan to marry him, which of course she accepts. Hearing about the engagement, Mushu is thrilled for them until the leader of the ancestors informs that if Mulan marries Shane, she would become a part of his family, which that means Shane's family's ancestors and guardians would become hers. So the ancestors are happy with this, which means Mushu will lose his job as a guardian and has to leave Mulan and his pedestal, which of course he tries to, break them up, but unfortunately it did not work. So of course the Mongols are basically will destroy China and they're the villains in this. So of course later on in the movie they are pretty good for what it is, but of course Shane unfortunately dies in the movie for those who are, wandering. But, of course, to be completely honest, Shane will eventually get back home. And after the wedding, Shane combines his family temples, meaning that Mulan will keep his job. That's basically what Mulan 2 is. Now, I really did not care for Mulan 2. It's not a bad movie in my opinion. It does need a little bit of development. We'll just need some improvement. That's all I could definitely say. If this was released maybe in 2000 or something or 1999, then the movie would have had a very good concept and it would have been better. Unfortunately, there is a canceled sequel in the early 2002. It was reported that Disney was working on Mulan Free, but unfortunately after that it was canceled before the release of Mulan 2 because they really feel that it didn't really, was not necessary. So, yeah. I have seen Mulan 2 years ago, but in my opinion, it's not the same as the first one. Like the first one was pretty good, but the second one was not the same. I didn't really care for the second one a whole lot. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad movie. I just didn't really care for it. But yet again, that's just my opinion though, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's totally understandable and totally fine too. So, I could definitely say right now that I really do like how the movie was good. Like the first movie was good. It's just I wasn't really a fan of the second movie because the second movie, to be honest, it just wasn't the same as the first one. So that I definitely just have to say. I know it's kind of me being harsh, but at the same time, I really don't know. I just don't really know, to be completely and utterly honest. But okay, I guess that might be maybe just me, but I don't know. I just don't really know, but I could definitely say that it's just, I don't know, it's just maybe something. I don't know what to say, but anyways, with that being the case, with that being said, this is just simply my own personal opinion on Mulan 1, and if you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these movies. If you like the second movie, that's fine. I'm okay with it. If you don't like it, I can understand your reasons and respect your opinions. So anyways, with that being the case, with that being said, what did you guys think about this movie? Did you enjoy the remake? Did you enjoy the original? Did you enjoy the sequel? Did you not? Also, what would you have done personally to help make this movie a lot better? Leave me now with your thoughts down in the comment section down below. On the Queen of Lions, thank you so much for watching today's episode of Shadows and Pretties. If you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'll be catch you all in the next video. Peace out.